To make a very long story short, my wife had an affair last year. She didn't confess. I had suspicions of an emotional affair, and after 2 confrontations she finally trickle-truthed me. On a whim, and having read a lot about this sort of thing, I pressed. I found out way more than I wanted to. Lots of lies, nights at work that weren't really nights at work, etc. I immediately went apocalypse mode, filed for separation, and asked her to leave the house. That lasted for a couple days. I quickly realized what she was doing to herself, and when she got sick at her hotel, her mother wouldn't make the trip to pick her up. So I did. Took her to urgent care, and then I ended up letting her come back home. In the last year, we've spent a lot of time and effort working, and to her credit, she has come a long way. She went from being completely passive to engaged and communicative, and she pulls her weight around the house. I feel like I have a partner again. Unfortunately, something's missing. She fundamentally changed herself in my heart, and I don't know how to work around that. It's just different now. I think back to the desperate struggling I did with trying to fix things leading up to, during, and after the affair, and I think about the way she was handling it. She treated me with zero respect, lied to me, and was even going to let me make a huge career decision in order to try and fix a marriage she had already violated. There were times, as things got worse, that I wanted a way out and nearly left anyhow, but I was committed to the idea that things would get better, that I wouldn't be the one to give up. So now, after working weekly with a therapist for a few months, I think I know what I want to do. I want to leave. I also don't want to hurt her. I'm worried that maybe something will magically change once I've drawn that line, though, and suddenly I'll realize it was a mistake. I care for her, and it's frightening to think of the void after having this life partner for 8 years suddenly disappear. At 34, re-entering the dating pool is also intimidating as well. I'm at this sort of impasse and trying to overcome the inertia, but the cold reality is that I think I'm with her because I'm afraid to start over. Afraid that, ultimately, this is something most any marriage will have to deal with. Meanwhile, I feel like life is passing me by, and the life we're leading at home together seems hollow. If anyone has been through something similar, I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences. Comment 1. I am truly sorry for your pain. I spent 4 years in reconciliation and made all the changes you described and more. I needed to make it work. Didn't want to hurt him. Was afraid what it would do to kids, afraid to start over. I am 42. After 4 years of time to save our 18-year marriage, we decided to divorce this past week. For the reason you described. The damage was done. And while he is a better person now, he is not the man I wanted to be married to. It is sad. But I no longer have the knot in my chest. I no longer have the underlying sadness that I carried in my heart no matter where I went. I have some hope. It is actually a relief. We stopped pretending it was going to be okay. It is a long and difficult process to heal from infidelity. And sometimes, the people you both are afterwards just aren't compatible. STBX and I still care very much for each other, but the pain was always there. No matter how hard we tried to cover it up. Some people can make it work, I admire that. But for me, that chapter needs to end. Wherever your journey takes you, I wish you peace and strength. Comment 2. I think that this is right. Regardless of the infidelity, it's likely that some point in the marriage you'll have to make a conscious choice to stay together through that period of time for whatever reason. And on the other side of that, hopefully things come back up and it's a want and not a choice. I can't help you with your decision. If you don't have kids, I think you really have the right to choose your destiny here, as she busted those vows and you've done some work, a lot, to restore them. Getting out after, especially after she's done what she needed to do, is unfortunate, but as you don't have kids, I really think this is about what you want. Comment 3. You can look at that a couple of ways. Infidelity is certainly a violation in the marriage agreement. But commitment, to me, through marriage is two people agreeing to work it out. Infidelity may be a deal breaker for many, I think it's more often a deal breaker for those that haven't been through it. Fear isn't the reason to stay. I'd certainly argue the counter side of that though, that the devil you know may be better than the devils that you're going to have to go through to find what you want in a partner. I wouldn't stay because I'm afraid that some other partner down the line might cheat. There are ways to minimize that risk, such as avoiding novelty-seeking individuals with a family history of infidelity, etc. You're conflicted and on the fence. That's a crappy place to be. Your marriage is what you make of it, at least partly. Your wife seems to be doing the right thing, now, and I get that you're having trouble getting past it. Again, with no kids, I can't give you advice, that's what your therapist is for. What is it that you're looking for in a partner? Other than one that hasn't dealt you immense amounts of damage and broken your trust. Comment 4. Hey bud, I was your age when I got divorced from my ex-wife. I had the same thoughts about the dating pool, but I couldn't have been more wrong. A guy in his mid-30s with a career and is physically active, gym, sports, etc., almost has to try to fail. I am currently in the same boat as you with my girlfriend. I said I'd never settle down again after dealing with infidelity and physical abuse from my ex. My girlfriend was different, I thought. So I went for it. I always wanted a family to call my own. As it turns out, she isn't any different. Aside from the physical abuse, she checked out just as quickly as my ex. All the things I've done, flowers, dates, surprise lunches at her work, love notes, making her laugh, staying in shape, etc., etc. None of that made any difference to my girlfriend either. She went out and ducked another guy. The Brits have a word that sums up the last 7 months perfectly: gutted. I'm starting to think happily ever after doesn't exist anymore. As if society is evolving toward open relationship/hookup culture, while I'm infected with the need for monogamy. She's doing everything right, going to AA, therapy, tending to me when I have those 1,000-yard stare moments. She could apologize every once in a while, that would help. Still, I have fleeting moments where the betrayal doesn't come to mind in an ocean of sleepless nights and self-doubt. I see her buzzing around my apartment, I moved out of the house, and love her, but then I think she chose some other guy to share herself with. She kissed him and ducked him, and I think that she is tainted now. I'm not sure what I will do in the future. I keep telling myself I'm with her for now. Maybe it'll get easier and I'll be able to put this behind me in some respect, maybe I won't and I'll tire of living this way. Do what you feel you need, not what she needs. Find a new hobby to dive headfirst into. Something that is yours. Something you can obsess about and grow. Woodworking or writing fiction, etc. Sorry for the ramble, I haven't updated in a while and needed to get some things out. Comment 5. Leave. She doesn't care anymore. That's the change you're detecting. She doesn't want to be the bad guy and be the one who leaves. She's waiting for you to do it. It's in your best interest anyway, so just do it. When you let a girl use you for a long time, as she did, she loses respect for you. Then when she struggles with addiction or a mental illness and you double down on your efforts to help, she just sees you as even more of a wimp and loses even more respect. She's looking for a new chapter in her life. You should too. Comment 6. I know exactly what you mean. I have been reading this blog for about 7 months and there is a lot of great advice. Some is kinda shit and bitter, but there are genuine people out there and you just need to look. Don't feel bad, I have no idea what to do either. This whole thing gave me PTSD and I blacked out and was losing hours at a time with no memory or it ever happening, so my doctor made me get a brain scan and MRI to make sure it wasn't something else, and let me tell you, if I wasn't stressed before, it hit me like a ton of bricks and was a relief when it was just PTSD. If you can believe I was happy it is that and not passing away like my dad with brain cancer. I would have went to the beach and took a long swim. Amazing how one person in your life can turn everything you believe and trust upside down. Good luck, we all need it, but like they say, it will pass. Just keep telling yourself and never give up on yourself. Only you can fix you, and that is all we all need to remember, and quit concentrating on your partner and the crap they placed on your plate. Just let it go and take time for you. Comment 7. Have you told her that? Asked her for amends? Has she owned it, and is she working to address those specific failures in her character? Being a full partner in running the household, etc., should be freaking baseline. Good that she's engaged back into being a good partner. See if you can let go of the resentment of her past shirking. None of that gives back what all she cheated you out of. That work is on top of addressing general relationship improvements. You should be seeing if there are areas, like communicating resentments with compassion, you can work on. Only she cheated. Only she has this work to address, being someone who lies, consciously and intentionally, to her trusting husband. She is someone who made choices to violate and abuse your trust. The emptiness you are feeling is perhaps knowing now this about who she is, and she has not owned that and worked to show you she rejects that part of who she is, and is working hard, and talking to you about her work on herself solely about her cheating. Comment 8. You make some very valid points, and I appreciate that you're trying to be subjective. You're right in that I probably haven't done a good job of articulating the specifics of resentment, or the fact that there's still a lot of it, even after all this time. We've gotten close a couple times, but, much like before, she will emotionally shut down when there's much conflict. Still, I should be pushing this. She'll cite deep depression, and I'm always left feeling like it came out of left field. Worse, she seems to have absolutely no interest in seeing someone about it, beyond the 3-month med check to renew her antidepressant med. They don't even talk to her about things. I've suggested it a few times, but I certainly won't force her into anything like that. Which, I suppose, is kind of your point. Comment 9. Maybe that's where a MC comes in? If she's avoiding conflict, that's a negative behavior even without having cheated and results in damage to marriages even without cheating. How you present conflict can be a factor. Gottman tends to view women as the ones with a harsh start up, but it happens to both times. The use of depression as an excuse is something I was up against. My ex would get livid if I asked that he use his therapy time to address, lying to me? Cheating? Secret keeping? Selfishness, or more specifically lack of empathy/selflessness toward me or our kids even? Step away from viewing it as something you force her into. You set boundaries of what you accept in your relationship. The second or third time my ex brought up vague comments about self-harm, I said I have to make sure he's not lying to his therapist/RX doc about his risk of suicide so that they are aware. He was, livid. Because it was wholly a manipulative tool he was using, callously, on me, to get out of facing the consequences of lying and cheating. Poor him. In order to be close? You have to crack open this festering sore she created in her cheating. You can also choose to end the marriage, that's an option certainly. It sounds like the years have worn on you though. Comment 10. You could be right. We dug into some MC right after it happened, but we mutually felt like it wasn't really enabling us to do anything. In retrospect, maybe I didn't give it enough of a chance to take. We certainly didn't get to the core of these issues, and you are making me realize that I've never really opened up to her about the consequences of her actions. Beyond that, I'm pretty freaking bummed out and trying to work through it. All the same, it's largely been, by my own design, something I've been working on myself. Thank you for sharing your experience with your ex. I hate that you had to put up with that kind of nonsense, but I admire the way you dealt with it. Since my wife's father passed away, I've kind of taken on this role of coddling and sheltering her, and I think that's a significant factor in what we're dealing with now. As soon as I try and confront her with reality, I inevitably feel guilty and go easy. Thanks you for watching. Everyday New Movies. See you soon.